Well, I have to say, this was another enjoyable episode of The Flash, and earlier today I just reviewed the episode that I missed a week or two ago, Tricksters. But this episode, All-Star Team Up. Now, like I said, it's a very enjoyable episode. Perhaps not quite as enjoyable as the previous one, but still, I had a lot of fun with it, and I will evaluate it like I do all the other episodes. Now, now basically the plot of this one is Barry really again dealing with the physical, or not really physical, but emotional and mental ramifications of finding out that Harrison Wells is the Reverse Flash and is likely the person who killed Barry's mother. Now he's constantly having to hide his true feelings. There's an ever deepening layer of secrecy behind his interactions at Star Labs. He's really grappling with the fact that he doesn't really know who to trust anymore. He doesn't know what to do anymore, because his entire foundation throughout the season is basically revealed to be a lie. So he doesn't know if he can trust Cisco and Caitlin with the truth. He doesn't feel like he can confide in anyone except Joe. So so that actually brings us to the two guest stars this episode. This is kind of a crossover, but really more of a guest starring spot, honestly. Because Felicity and Ray Palmer come to Central City because Ray needs a little bit of help with his suit. There's I believe, a fuel problem or something like that. Basically, he has a problem with his suit. He comes to Star Labs seeking help, and Felicity really sort of out of nowhere tells Ray Barry's secret. She tells Ray all about the Flash, and how the Flash has been stopping crimes in Central City with the help of the guys over at Star Labs. Blah blah blah. Okay, and in addition, there's a new villain in town. It's not a metahuman. It's this woman who used to work at this company. I forget the name of the company, but she's this tech whiz who has invented this swarm of mechanical bees in order to kill anyone who she feels is responsible for her misfortune, because she got fired from the company and she's not very happy. So right away, one of the big weaknesses of this episode is the villainess is not all that memorable. Or let me put it this way, she's barely developed. We get a general backstory, we get a general, profile of, oh, she wants revenge against those who have wronged her. Okay, so on the pure base level of having a villain of the week to stop, she works okay. But the thing is, she barely shows up. She's barely in the episode. We occasionally see her throughout, but really she doesn't become a physical presence until the end of the episode. For the most part, she's just used as her creations, more specifically, are just used as a physical obstacle for Barry and the others to overcome. So that was a little disappointing how we didn't really have much of a villain this week. She's fun while she's there, but that's the thing. She wasn't there very much. I get the feeling she would have been a much stronger presence if her performance had been more prevalent in the episode. So that's probably the biggest weakness in this episode. But really everything else I was really enjoying. Now first of all, the guest stars, Ray Palmer and Felicity. Ray Palmer, bringing him into the Flash makes more sense in terms of tone than bringing Oliver on like they did earlier in the season, because Ray Palmer, by definition, or at least how they've written him in this universe, is a much more lighthearted character than Oliver, who's very sort of tragic and brooding and almost Batman-esque, while Ray is very much almost Tony Stark-esque. The reason I like Ray Palmer is that you could see him as this sort of Bruce Wayne or more accurately Tony Stark type guy, where he's super rich, he has all these witty quips, but in actuality, while Tony Stark is very narcissistic and is aware that he's hurting people's feelings and saying the wrong things, he's aware of basically everything he does, and the ramifications of everything he says, pretty much. While Ray, not so much. He's very naive when it comes to people, probably why, which is probably the idea behind pairing him with Felicity. So yeah, the guest stars are a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the interactions that Ray Palmer in particular had with the guys over at Star Labs. How him and Cisco form this sort of almost like a hive mind, because they're saying the same things. They're each coming up with the nicknames. So that was pretty cute. Although there's a really cheesy Superman reference toward the beginning, where Felicity tells the guys at Star Labs to come outside, and they're like, "What are we looking for?" And they see Ray coming in his Atom suit, and Caitlin's like, "What is that? It's a bird?" And Cisco says, "It's a plane." And Felicity says, "Oh, it's my boyfriend." And Ray lands, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Ray." And I said, "Okay, okay, that was right up there with Mark Hamill saying, 'I am your father' in the previous episode." It was very on the nose. Yeah, aside from that, I enjoyed the character interactions. And Felicity in particular, it makes sense narratively for her to come on the show, because she really comes in as a source of emotional support for Barry at a time when he again really doesn't know who to trust. So Felicity guest starring on this episode made sense in terms of where Barry's character can go from here, and what he can do to maintain his sanity, because Felicity is one of the only people he feels like he can trust right now. So bringing her in and asking her for advice as to what to do, I actually really liked those scenes. Really thought that the characters, not only do they continue to have good chemistry, Grant Gustin and Emily Bett Rickards, but the fact that they've developed this really strong bond to the point where they can really feel like they trust each other. Again, at a time when Barry is really having difficulty trusting anyone, really made sense. So, and really got me invested. Not to sound like a broken record. And even the stuff with Eddie and Iris. Finally, Eddie is becoming somewhat interesting. Now, Eddie, if you don't know, it was revealed to him that Barry was the Flash and Joe knew about the Flash. So Eddie now has a secret to keep from Iris. Now, we learn the ramifications of that, because Iris basically expects total honesty from anyone who she is romantically involved with. And if you haven't guessed it, that's not exactly something that Eddie can give her at this point, because he was told by both Joe and Barry, "Don't tell Iris. It's for her safety." And he talks to Joe, I say different. I don't think keeping her in the dark protects her. I mean, this is starting to affect our relationship in a very negative way. And Joe says, just keep up the ruse. We cannot bring her into this. So Eddie really having some relationship troubles with Iris, and normally these bore me to tears, but the fact that they've actually given Eddie some type of I don't want to say shtick, but some type of they've given him a secret, and through that secret they've actually added some drama to his character, aside from which again makes him an actual character rather than the sort of cookie cutter, nice, good looking guy that he was really throughout the first half of the season. He was very bland, very uninteresting in my opinion. But now I can actually say, okay, I'm starting to get somewhat invested in the character of Eddie Thawne. Now, what else do I like about this episode? That really sums it up. However, the character of Iris, I've been kind of neutral towards at this point, and the thing was, I was kind of conflicted on whether or not I was liking her in this episode or not, because at first I was thinking, okay, you have a point, because Eddie has been acting off lately, and she has every right to question his behavior, how it has differed from his behavior in the past, and how she doesn't feel like he's being honest with her. She even says to Barry, "Do you think Eddie is cheating on me?" So she has every right to to feel that way. She has every right to ask those questions. But when Barry says to her, Eddie, he's out there in the in the dirt, in the thick of it. He's out there being a cop, seeing some really ugly stuff. And maybe the reason he's not talking to you is because he really wants to keep you in the light, so to speak. Whereas he is dealing with really dark stuff all day. Maybe he thinks it's just too painful, or maybe he really wants his interactions with you to be more positive by comparison. So upon hearing this, Iris seems to undergo a change of heart, but then at the end of the episode, she issues Eddie an ultimatum. Be honest with me, or I break up with you. Now, and she basically says, if two people love each other, they should be 100% honest. So, while I would have somewhat criticized this episode for resolving the, you're not being honest with me subplot in one episode, I actually think it would have made more sense than what Iris eventually did, which was, completely disregard Barry's advice and really go through no real change. She still is in a bit of a rocky place with Eddie. She still, again, issues him this ultimatum. She's not really being very understanding. And her statement of, couples should be 100% honest with each other, no matter what the subject matter. While she was saying this, I'm kind of thinking, yeah, tell that to a Vietnam vet, or really any kind of war veteran who harbors these painful memories. See how it goes then. So yeah, while Iris is not exactly one of the more likable characters in this particular episode, I still honestly don't think that it's done out of any sort of obnoxious behavior. I don't really think she's obnoxious, or, for lack of a better word, bitchy, like someone like Laurel. I just think she's naive, and I think she has the potential to grow more as a character and be more understanding. So I'm willing to see where that goes. So yeah, I enjoyed this episode. I wish the villain had been a little stronger, but really the character interactions are what shined at this episode. Specifically, I can't believe I've barely mentioned this. Specifically, Barry grappling with Harrison Wells and who he can trust. That was some really good material that was well played by basically everyone involved. So yeah, I enjoyed this one. Looking forward to the next one.